Okay, we have 5 more to do, and so we're going to finish this up. I do want you to try to do the next one on your own. So just kind of pause the video and you try the next one, and then we'll come back together. Okay? All right, so we have 2 graphs. The first one, negative x squared plus 3, and it ends at 1. So we have to substitute 1 into this equation. So that'll give me negative 1 times 1 squared plus 3. So that actually will be 1 times negative 1 is negative 1 plus 3, and that's going to give me 2. So my first point would be 1, 2. The type of graph, this is a quadratic. So its shape is going to be U-shape or parabola, and its vertex is at 0, 3. Okay? So our vertex is at x equals 0 and 3. Our endpoint is 1, 2. And we know that it's upside down, so actually it's an upside down parabola. So since we start, our endpoint is at 1, 2, and I have forgotten how to graph a point. All right, it's at 1, 2. We know this graph goes up to its vertex, and then it goes back down, because that's what the shape looks like. It's an upside down parabola. And you could add points to this. So like if you're not understanding how I'm getting these points, you can just like take some points less than 1 and try to see what the shape looks like. And it's going to be a closed circle on this one. Okay, so let's do the next one. Let's get a different color. Okay, so for this one, I have to substitute 1 into our value. So we have absolute value of 1 minus 3, which is 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So our endpoint is at 1, negative 2. The type of graph is absolute value. The shape is V-shape. And our vertex here is at 0, negative 3. So we won't see the vertex on this because we start at 1. So we won't see the vertex. So we're starting at 1, negative 2. And it's an open circle. And so our vertex is at 0, negative 3. This is our vertex. But we're starting at 1, negative 2. So we're just going to go up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. That graph's a little wonky there, but we're going up 1 over 1. And that would be the second part. Because the other part of that we're not seeing. I'm just kind of, if we were to finish that graph, we'd go down and then we go back up. But all of that is not being seen because the graph doesn't start until 1. Okay, let's do 13. Again, if you want to try these on your own, try them on your own, and then we can come back and look. You can pause the video at any time, try them, and then come back together and we'll do them. All right, so for this one, we're going to put in 1 into our equation. So we have negative 3. We have negative 3 times 1 plus 1. That's negative 2 plus 1. That's negative 1. So our endpoint is at 1, negative 1. Its type of graph is linear, so its shape is negative, so it's going down from left to right. And our y-intercept, our slope is negative 3. Our y-intercept is 1. So we're starting at x is 1 and y is negative 1. We know that it's going from left to right. Because it's greater than or equal to there's a closed circle. And then we're going to go down 3. Our endpoint is 1. So this is less than 1. I'm sorry. So we need to go, and we have a y-intercept at 1. So because we're doing when it's less than or equal to 1, our graph is going to go from the other side. So we have 1, 2, slope of 3. So 1, 2, 3 over 1. And it looks like that. close circle. Our next graph is absolute value. So we find the endpoint. We put in 1. We get 1 minus 1. The absolute value of that is 0 minus 2. So our endpoint is 1, negative 2. The type of graph is absolute value. The shape is a V shape. And our vertex is 1, negative 2. Oh, so we're starting on our vertex. So if we start on our vertex, 1, negative 2. We start here, 1, negative 2. And then we just go up. Our slope is 1. We go up 1 over 1. And we're going to have an open circle. And it looks like that. Now remember, our vertex is here, so if I were to graph past that, it would just go up to the left here. But because that part is not defined, it's not being shown. So we're concerned about this part. Alrighty, now we're going to 3 different parts. Exciting, isn't it? Okay, so let's do 3 different parts. So each one of them, so the first one will have one endpoint. The one in the middle, we have to look at both endpoints. And then the last one, we just look at the last endpoint. Okay, so this first one, our endpoint, if I put in negative 2 here, I get negative 2 plus 2 squared plus 5, which is 0. I'm sorry, which is 5. So my endpoint is negative 2, 5. What type of graph is this? It's quadratic. So the shape is V, but it's an upside down V. So it's upside down U. So it's gonna look like that, not like a triangle. It's gonna look like an upside down U, and its vertex is negative 2, 5. Okay, so let's see if we can graph that. So we're going to start at negative 2. We have an open circle at negative 2. Nope. We're going to start at negative 2, 5. So we have an open circle on negative 2, 5. We know our graph is going downward. Our vertex is also negative 2, 5. So this is going to be a maximum point. So it's going to look like this. Equation 2, the second equation, is just a horizontal line at 5. Okay? And it goes between negative 2 and negative 1. So our endpoints are going to be negative 2, 5, because it's always 5, and it's going to be 1, 5. The type of graph is linear, and its shape is a horizontal line. So at 5, I'm going to have a horizontal line starting at negative 2. And so it's going to start here. I'm going to close that circle in because it's defined there. And then we're going to go to 1. And we're still 5. And we're closed there as well. And we're just going to draw a horizontal line. I should have put that in a different color. Let's make it a different color. Let's make it green. So we're going to close that circle, and it's green. Okay, and then our last one is a absolute value, and it looks like it has a vertex at 2, 5 as well. So let's put in x is 1. So when x is 1, we get the absolute value of 1 minus 2 plus 5, which is negative 1. The absolute value of negative 1 is 1 plus 5 is 6. So this endpoint is going to start at 1, 6. The type of graph is absolute value. The shape is a V, and our vertex is at 2, 5. So since we're starting our graph at 1, we will see our vertex. Our vertex is at 2, 5. 2, 5. So our vertex is here. When x is 1, we're at 6. And our slope is 1, so that means our next point will go here as well. And so we're going to have an open circle, and then we go on forever. And it looks like that. You can make some interesting shapes with these, can't you? All right, we have 2 more to go. I'm sorry this video is taking a little long, and I know this is a little tedious, but I want to do them with you, and hopefully you'll be able to do your homework. Okay? All righty, so we have a linear function, and we're going to start at -3, so it's less than or equal to -3. So we put in our endpoint, so we have 1/3 -3 plus 2. So 1/3 of -3 is -1 plus 2 is 1. So my endpoint starts at -3, 1. So I'm going to start at -3 and 1, and I'm going to have a closed circle there. And my slope is 1/3, so the type of graph is linear. The shape, it looks like it's positive, so it looks like that. My slope is 1/3, and my y-intercept is 2. So I know I have a y-intercept here. Oh, I'm not going that far, so I won't go that far. So, but I'm going to have a slope of 1/3. So that means I'm going to go down 1 and over 3. 1, 2, 3. And I keep going on and on forever like that. Equation 2 is absolute value. So the endpoint of equation 2, if I put in -3, I get 3. If I put in +3, I get 3. And my vertex, the type of graph, is absolute value. The shape is going to be upward V, and my vertex is at 0, 0. So I will see my vertex here. So here's my vertex, and then I'm starting at -3 and +3. So my graph looks like this. And this side, the left side, is open. The right side is closed. And then finally we have a quadratic, and so we're going to put in 3 for that. We get -9. We get -3 squared plus 5, which is 9. -9 plus 5, which is -4. So this, our endpoint, is going to be -4. Going to be 3, -4. The type of graph is quadratic. The shape is a U, and it's an upside down U. And our vertex here is 0, 5. So I won't see my vertex because it's 0, 5, and I'm starting at 3. So I'll never go through my vertex. So my graph starts, the endpoint is 3, 4. And it's going to be an open circle, and it's just going to look like a parabola. It won't go to its vertex because the vertex is not in the domain that it has. All right, last one, and this is our last for this unit, our last lesson for this unit. So yeah, we can shout for joy here. All righty, we're going to start with our endpoint. We know this is, and by the way, I would also suggest that you stop the video here and try it on your own, and then come back and see what we're going to do. Okay? So if we start with our endpoint, we put in -4, we get -4 plus 5 squared plus 6. -4 plus 5 is 1. 1 squared is 1 times -1, which would be -1 plus 6 is 5. So we have -4, 5 as our endpoint. The type of graph is quadratic. The shape is a parabola, and it's going to be an upside down parabola. And I don't know why I'm asking about slope and y-intercept, because it doesn't have one. Okay? So our vertex, but it does have a vertex. So I do need to know the vertex, which is -5, 0. So my vertex is at -5, 0. This is my vertex. I am starting at -4. If our point is -4, 5, it's an upside down parabola. Because I did that wrong. My vertex is -5, 6. Sorry. My vertex is -5, 6. So it looks like this. And this is a closed circle. So we have a closed circle. It's going to go up to the vertex and then start to come back down. The middle graph is just it's a horizontal line. So it doesn't matter what I put in here, I'm always going to get 3. So I have -4, 3, and 2, 3. So I have -4, 3, and +2, 3. And so that's going to be a horizontal line, open circle on both of those, open-ended on both of those, and shaded in between. So if you wanted to type graph, it's linear. Its shape is horizontal. And it has a slope of 0. Okay. And then the last one is another quadratic. So its endpoint, if I put in 3, I'm going to do this down here. 3 minus 4 squared plus 3, which is -1 squared, which is 1 plus 3, which is 4. So my endpoint here is 3, 4. Type of graph is quadratic. The shape is a U, and it's in upward facing U with the vertex at 4, 3. So will I see my vertex? Yes, I will see the vertex. So the vertex is 4, 3. My start point is when x is 3, y is 4, and that is also an open circle. So when x is 3, y is 4, and then it goes down to its vertex, and then it goes back up, and that's our shape. Yay! That's the end of that lesson. This is the end of lesson 1B, and you should be able to, in this lesson, in this unit, you should be able to graph absolute value functions. You should be able to sketch quadratic functions. You should be able to solve absolute value equations and absolute value inequalities. And you should be able to graph piecewise functions that contain absolute value, quadratics, and linear. And we will talk about all of this in our synchronous learning. If you have any questions,